All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday, and it's time for the Friday Part 1 Malzberg panel. And here he is, host of the Roger Hedgecock syndicated radio show, nationally heard, of course, Roger Hedgecock, and columnist for Breitbart.com, an American thinker, C. Edmund Wright. And Edmund, give me the book again, because WTF.
How Karl Rove and the establishment lost again.
There you go. Okay.
Amen.
All right, I wanted to get the WTF part in there myself. All right, gentlemen, let's start something away from, I can't take it anymore with, Ferguson and the racist cops. We'll get to that. But Hillary Clinton said something, which I think is very notable. And she said that we should empathize with our enemies. She was speaking at Georgetown University. I don't know what she get, 300 grand for that? And I hope they gave her the right pillows and crackers. But anyway, she said that we should empathize and show respect for our enemies. She said that it's called smart power, and that we need to show respect even for one's enemies, trying to understand and insofar as psychologically possible, empathize with their perspective and point of view. So let me pick an enemy, Roger. Al-Qaeda. ISIS. We're supposed to try to understand why they cut off the heads of Christians? Is that what she's going to run on in 2016?
I think, Steve, she has disqualified herself for the presidency. It's irrational, as Colonel North said yesterday, it's irrational to suggest that her approach to foreign policy has worked. Look at how much the reset with Russia has worked out. Are you kidding? Putin is on a rampage because he views it as nothing but weakness. All throughout, as you mentioned, the Middle East, all of these radical Islamist groups are nothing but emboldened by the idea that we're going to try to empathize with them when their view is they ought to kill us because we're infidels and we're not following Allah's way. So it's kind of divorced from reality. Is this some kind of faculty lounge foreign policy?
I got to tell you, Edmund, weigh in on what she said, but she keeps giving, and this is the ultimate, because if we get a presidential candidate who is not afraid to stand up and say what we are all three saying today, there's no, and really hammer it, there's no way she could be the president of the United States.
No, I've never thought she was going to be. I'm not even sure she's going to be the nominee. This is the second really big pile she stepped in the last couple of weeks. We all remember the one where she was appearing with Elizabeth Warren, and I guess trying to be even more Cherokee than Warren, she felt the need to say that companies don't really create jobs. Well, that disqualifies her on domestic policy, and I think, as Roger said, this disqualifies her on foreign policy. This is faculty lounge liberal idiocy, and I think Hillary 16 is going nowhere.
All right, let me bring you guys another one, and this is something that really is huge. And of course, by design, Obama has got the media talking about this whole, the Staten Island thing, and nothing else is getting talked about. But Obama reportedly is weighing sanctions against Israel for building apartment dwellings in Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, and at the same time, of course, that he's lessening and doing away with sanctions on the country, Iran, that has vowed to destroy Israel. How could you not think this guy has something personal against the state of Israel, Roger?
I think he does, and I think it's become clearer as time goes on that Netanyahu's assessment here is correct, that this president is not a friend of Israel. I do think that Congress here, our new majority in January, has got to get busy writing laws that would prevent this president from doing that. Sanctions against Israel for building apartments for their people, by the way, not for building atomic bombs, not for building weapons of mass destruction, no, for building apartments for their people in Jerusalem. It's an outrage, and Congress has got to do something about it.
Edmund?
I think it's just more of Obama giving the middle finger to the voters here and to all of our friends abroad. He's obviously... his allegiances have obviously been probably his entire life against Israel, against a lot of what this country stands for. In fact, the church he was in for 20 years is not what I would call a real Christian church. He's no friend of Israel, and again, just the middle finger to everybody again.
All right, guys, stay where you are. The panel returns with, I guess we'll call it part 2. How original. Next up on Newsmax Television. Stay where you are. All right, folks, welcome back to part 2 of the Malzberg panel. And we rounded out with Roger Hedgecock once again, host of the syndicated national radio show, The Roger Hedgecock Show, and columnist for Breitbart.com and American Thinker, C. Edmund Wright. And gentlemen, again, with the wall-to-wall constant coverage from the liberal media of they're even showing replays all day on CNN of last night's protests throughout New York and around the area, around the country. But Chris Christie has been cleared, if you will. No evidence linking the lane closures of the George Washington Bridge, we all remember that, to Chris Christie. This report is put out by New Jersey's legislature, democratically controlled. So they tried and they tried and they tried, and the media, which was obsessed with this, obsessed with it, has barely even given the 2-second acknowledgement to this report, Edmund.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. I'm not a big Chris Christie fan, and I guess I have a jaded
neither am
view
I. Yeah.
Of either New Jersey or Louisiana politics. So when you have a little something like this and there's a little revenge, it wouldn't have surprised me had it been true. But obviously, he is a Republican. He's come out hard against the unions in some situations. So the liberal media is not going to say anything nice about him unless he's hugging Obama on the tarmac. And then, of course, he's a great bipartisan.
Right.
Exactly.
No surprise, right, Roger, that they're just going to not report on this?
No surprise at all. As a matter of fact, there was a huge outcry, as you pointed out, right at the beginning, of the idea that Chris Christie might have stopped the traffic on that bridge. What about the thousands of demonstrations over the last couple of weeks that have stopped traffic from L.A. to Manhattan, and no one's ever been arrested for that? There's no big scandal about that. I couldn't get on the I-5 here going up to L.A. without being stopped at UCSD because all those pampered students had come down and lay down on the freeway. They weren't arrested for that. No big scandal there.
Yeah. All right. I want to touch on a story that I really haven't covered much at all, but we'll cover the aftermath here. University of Virginia. We all have seen the outrage. This woman who goes to school there claims she was gang raped there by a bunch of guys at a fraternity. Rolling Stone magazine wrote this up. Rolling Stone magazine never talked to any of the victim or the alleged rapists or attackers that were named by this woman. They kept it a secret. They didn't go question them because she didn't want them to. And now the story's all falling apart. Rolling Stone says they take back that story. They're finding credibility problems with the accusations. This after the University of Virginia came under pressure and I think they disbanded the fraternities and all that. Can someone say, Roger, Duke lacrosse?
Absolutely. They panicked there. The chancellor of the university went out, banned all the Greeks at the fraternities, then went after, suspended the Pi Kappa Alpha, Pi Kappa, what is it? Phi Kappa Psi, and because they were supposedly the place of this gang rape. Turns out that there was not a party that weekend at that fraternity house. The man named Drew in the article exists and is a member of another party and doesn't know this girl, Jackie. The whole thing would have been, 5 questions into a normal journalistic experience, and you would have known this story is completely false. But because it was so true to the liberal agenda, they ran with it because it fulfilled their stereotypes of these Southern rape-oriented, rape culture universities, and they ran with it. It's completely false.
And Roger, they're supporting their own narrative with the cops hate blacks too. So it's an extension, right, Edmund?
Yeah, and you're right when you said the Duke lacrosse case. Although there was a big distinction here, I don't believe the victim here was black. So maybe that's why only a couple of outlets ran with the story. So I don't know, Steve. Maybe this is actually progress in a way. But Roger's correct. Minus the race situation, it did hit a lot of those liberal templates, things that they just assume is true, and how they view every story.
Yeah. Okay, gentlemen, have a great weekend. Thank you very much, Roger.
Thanks.
Roger Hedgecock and C. Edmund Wright. Always great to talk to both of you. All right, folks, coming up next, you know it, you love it. You have to see this one, by the way. Sunny Hostin banned me from her Twitter. Watch this. Give me 5.